such recognition since Syria's independence in 1946. It also reaffirms Syria's ongoing participation in the US-led coalition against Islamic State.
To talk on the implications of the ceasefire agreed by Syria's interim president and the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces and the flare-up that followed, we're joined by Dr. Due-Gundersen, a Middle East analyst joining us from London. Welcome. Thank you so much for being with us. Now, just a day after the deal was announced, the SDF said it was clashing with government forces near a prison holding ISIS detainees. What does that say on the agreement that's supposed to transfer the responsibility for such prisons to Damascus?
This is the problem because I think that when we look at the agreement between the SDF and the Syrian national government, the ability to transfer control of the prison is vital and seen as symbolic of the deal as well. So these clashes represent the fact that the SDF perhaps doesn't fully trust the government. I don't think it also represents the fact that the SDF as a militia are now forced to wind down their operations that saw them be profitable during a war economy. Not all members will be ready for that or happy with that. I think this is why we've seen such clashes, and it also shows wider distrust, which we also saw in March of 2025 when there was an attempt to have an agreement between the two sides that also came to blows.
Well, before we get into the specifics of the current ceasefire deal, do you believe that such clashes might derail the agreement in its entirety?
I think that there is that risk that it could be derailed because, again, it's about lack of trust. And I think that right now, Ahmed al-Shara will be under pressure to show that his government is legitimate and in control of the country. This includes especially being able to de-arm militias and to reintegrate them with the police forces, with the armed forces as well, to show that he is in control of the country. That is why these clashes are so problematic, and it's also why they could derail.
Well, you've mentioned the attempt to integrate the Kurdish-led forces into regular army and police forces that failed months ago. Given the months of negotiations since, do you see this deal holding, this attempt going through?
I think that, again, the likelihood of the deal holding, it's hard to say, but I don't feel that the likelihood is very high. I think that there will be more than one attempt to return to the negotiating table. And I think that also you cannot end years of a war economy and of conflict within just 1 year of transition. And I think that Ahmed al-Shara is finding that out for himself, although he has the backing of a variety of allies, such as the US, for example, also the Gulf states. There will be militias across the country that may not want to fully disarm or who may feel that they are losing key patronage and also key livelihood. Let's not forget that the SDF, we're talking about a group that fought against Assad, that controlled oil terminals, that controlled neighborhoods, cities, and they're now going to have to give that up and reintegrate into civilian society. And I think that doing that after years of war will not happen that quickly.
Well, the deal does entail Damascus taking over the control of overdose oil and gas fields in the north and the east. What can that change for Syria's government?
Well, this is a very important and vital aspect of the economy. So Syria has approximately, as of 2010, it had 2.5 billion barrels worth of oil. Now we're talking about more sort of 1.8 billion. Either way, the advantage of access to oil is that it could help sort of inject cash into the economy more quickly. It's also a mark of stability. What a lot of countries are trying to see now is, can Ahmed al-Shara control the oil fields and gas fields? Can he resume oil production, and can it be predictable? These are key indicators for oil companies wanting to come back into, for example, Syria. And I think that if the government can regain control of those areas, they will be able to ramp up production, ramp up export, and of course, the money from those exports goes straight back into rebuilding the country and its infrastructure. In September 2025, we actually saw that there was a resumption of oil exports, about 600,000 barrels. That was seen as quite a strong moment because it was a way of saying that we are now open for business again and we are stable. That is the key narrative that al-Shara needs to present, the ability to lead a stable Syria. That is more important now than democratic transition.
Well, we've seen the U.S. envoy hailing this latest agreement as a step forward toward a unified Syria. How far along would you say Syria and its president are in this reintegration and unification effort?
We are still in the early stages. I think we have to remember that there was a protracted conflict. There was also several decades of Assad rule, not just Bashar al-Assad, who has fled to Moscow, but also his father before him. So you don't undo decades of that kind of corruption within a year. However, al-Shara seems to have the backing of major allies. He has the Gulf states, he has Saudi Arabia, who of course have access to Washington. He has the United States and Trump, who is willing to do business with him. So I think that he has the backing of the international community. What he needs to do now is to shore up the backing of his domestic constituents, if you like. So he needs trust within the country. We have seen that under al-Shara so far, there have at times been clashes with Alawites. There have been clashes with the Druze as well, these communities or minorities in the country. That has to be addressed for Syria to move forward. On the other hand, let's not forget that there are many Syrians who have returned home. This is something that Turkey was concerned about because Turkey has hosted quite a lot of refugees, and now many of them have started to return home, and I think that will continue. So now al-Shara wants to present that he's in control of the country and it is safe to return. That will be the main narrative he has to focus on for the next few years, I suspect.
Nikolai, thank you so much for joining us and providing us with your insight.
Thank you.
After a short break, we will take a look at some regional news. Do stay tuned.